I know you want to go and have a drink, but somebody said to me, you can't come all the way from South Africa and not talk a little bit about where you're from. And I don't want to focus on South Africa, I want to focus on emerging markets. And so if you'll bear with me for another few minutes, let me wrap up today with a thought I have that I'd like to leave you with. Will we get the slides up? Are they up? Yes, no, coming, clicking. Almost there. Okay? Aha. All right, do I need to go back? Yes, I do. Very far back because now I've skipped through everything. It's good. Why? Hi. All right, let's try that again. Okay, I'm going to play a video. Yes, you might have seen this before. Can we put up the volume, please? Thank you. Free publicity for National Geographic. They've been doing a great job of covering this phenomenon of us arriving at 7 billion people on the planet, which is a really big number. And I want to talk about an opportunity that exists in the divide that is created between those people who are currently outside of those urban areas, in those dark spots of that map I showed you with all of that light. And one of the biggest divides between them is that out of the 7 billion people on the planet today, only 1.8 billion can be considered to have an internet connection, all right? So, a third of the people on Earth are connected to the internet. And what fascinates me is what starts to happen as the rest of them get connected. In June this year, the United Nations put out a special report which basically concluded that internet connectivity is a human right. It's considered utility in many countries. I believe Sweden is one of them. And despite being a human right, less than a third of the planet has access. It's starting to happen though. This is a photo I took on my camera at the Seacom landing station on the eastern coast of South Africa. This was one of the first undersea cables that was independently owned and landed on the east coast of the continent, and it changed everything. In South Africa, we had internet connectivity, it was very poor. But in places like Kenya, it was a complete greenfield experience. They had almost no international bandwidth coming into the country. And overnight, things exploded. This is what Africa would look like by 2013 if things go according to plan. Looks a bit like Neo in the Matrix, right? Super connected to the world around it. But plugging Africa into the rest of the world is only part of the problem. We need to get that connectivity from the coast of Africa into the middle of the continent. That is starting to happen too. This photo was not taken in South Africa, it was taken in Rajasthan in India. A company called VNL is working on infrastructure that makes it very quick and easy and cheap to put up wireless networks in places like Rajasthan. If you look to the left of the picture, you'll see that antenna sticking up. That is a cellular base station that runs off of the grid completely. In other words, it doesn't use grid electricity. It's completely solar powered. I was speaking to the CEO of VNL, and he said that even in Mumbai, which is a very foggy area of India, this will power itself every day, no problem. It'll get enough solar power to run, okay? It uses grid technology, so it finds the next nearest cellular tower, and it aggregates that signal to wherever it is. We're starting to see connectivity spread from the coasts of these areas into the inland. But there are other challenges. Technology, as created in emerging markets, looks very different to what we've experienced in the developed world. You might have heard of Ushahidi. This was technology developed in Kenya in the post-election violence of 2007. It was used to track hotspots for violence and create heat maps that anybody could access for free. It used SMS technology to get information into the server and allow Kenyans to advise each other on where this violence was happening. It was open source, and so it was shared. And since then, it's been used to track the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico, to coordinate earthquake relief in Chile, and also recently in Japan. This is the kind of example of technology we're seeing coming out of Africa, coming out of a market where there was no internet connectivity, and where now there is a plethora. A fundamental shift is happening at the edge of these networks, however. The devices that we need to connect have made a fundamental shift in the last 5 years. One of the big challenges that we have, where I'm from, is literacy. Adult illiteracy is at a very high level. And so I want to spend time talking about this focus that technology has taken, this switch to anthropology. I've just finished reading Tom Kelly's The 10 Faces of Innovation. Sorry, I'm going kind of quickly because I want to get through this and let you all go and have your drinks. But the first face he puts on innovation is the anthropologist. He talks about the various roles that must be fulfilled in an organization to innovate successfully and effectively. And one of those is the anthropologist. A challenge was set to IDEO, Tom Kelly's company, to raise sales of drinks kiosks at train stations in Warsaw. The way they did that was they mounted cameras on the platform at the train station and they watched passengers waiting for their trains. The passengers would stand next to the rails, they'd look to see if they could see the train approaching, they would think, I'm a bit thirsty, look at the kiosk, but be hesitant to go over there because they were afraid of missing their train. And so what the IDEO guys did as a sort of a rapid prototype, slow down, rapid prototype, was they put clocks up at these kiosks. And the moment people could see what was happening in terms of the time and when the train would come, they would go and they would buy a drink with less hesitation. Sales went up 40%, okay? The approach before would be to look at the business. What is the business doing wrong? How do we increase sales by changing the business? But the moment you switch to a view on the customer, you watch the people on the platform, it becomes obvious what they need from the business to be more successful. There's a point in this, because technology has started watching the people on the platform. The Chevrolet Motor Company is 100 years old this year. That's what the first Model C Chevy looked like. The driver here was ancillary. The focus was on engineering. If you wanted to make a car go from A to B, you needed to understand something about engineering to get it going, right? Things have changed over the last 100 years. Now the driver is the focus. We make emotional buying decisions about cars because we want to know about our children's safety, about our driver experience, about air conditioning, okay? The shift has focused to people, and the same has happened in technology. That's what computers looked like, okay, a very long time ago. Skip forward 20 years. Okay, they were still pretty difficult to use, but at least they got smaller. You had to understand something about how the computer worked, though, because you were being presented with a command prompt. There wasn't even a hard drive in here to interface with it, to get it to do what you wanted it to do. You needed to understand how it worked. Skip forward again. Still not much improvement, right? Okay, this is Word 97 with all of its toolbars open. What do these things do? This was not designed for a human being. Okay, I type documents for a living. I thought it was fairly simple. Apparently not. Okay, this was not designed by somebody who was thinking from an anthropological perspective. But things have changed, and we now have computers that have been designed considering the people that are going to use them. And this is molding and changing things in emerging markets. This is my youngest son, Kian. This was the first time he saw an iPad at the age of 2. He had played with my iPhone before, so he knew how to unlock it, and he very soon found his favorite game. And he started playing with the fishies in the pond. It's great fun. Okay? Kian cannot read, but he is using a computer. You can now learn how to use a computer before you know how to read, and the computer can teach you to read. I grew up in a generation where you needed the spatial awareness of a 9-year-old, and you needed to be literate if you wanted to use a computer. Now, more than 60% of people in my country will experience the internet for the first time on a mobile device, and it will also be the first computer that they ever use. But we need them to get cheaper, and they are. The Indian government applied itself in recent, there's been a project that's been running for a while, but this year they announced the Akash tablet in India. It originally would go on sale at $35. The price has gone up a bit, but I think we agree that at $60, it's a very cheap device. We're putting these devices into people's hands. It's changing everything. They're getting the connectivity that they need to collaborate with the rest of the world. But a very rational question would be, why would you want to collaborate with them? It's a fair question, right? They're online, they have the tools, but why do we want to work with them? And I think I have an answer. It's because they see things differently. And because you cannot read the label from inside the bottle. And because I think this world could use a bit of different thinking. I think the developed world could use the perspectives of people who think outside the bottle, who haven't been in the bottle and can read the label. Does anybody here play the guitar? Yeah, a few people. If I asked you to teach me to play the guitar, you'd say, okay, if you're right-handed, this is the hand you strum with, and this is the hand that you use for frets, right? That's how you play the guitar. But what if you taught yourself to play the guitar and you didn't have somebody to teach you? You might come up with a different way of playing the guitar. Volume, please. Something that wasn't taught to you, but that you had to learn yourself. This is Ronnie from Botswana. And I don't think anybody in this room would argue that he doesn't know how to play the guitar. He's since become a bit of a celebrity on YouTube. Lots of people have gone to find Ronnie and record him playing different songs and put it online. Hopefully we'll see an international tour soon. Ronnie taught himself to play the guitar. And when we leave people to their own devices, when we give them the technology and the connectivity that they need to work, they come up with their own way of doing things. And I believe that collaborating with these people in the future is going to be vital in the developed world. And so let's go back to the picture that I started with this morning. Light, synonymous with our civilization. But there are a lot of dark areas in between all of that concentrated light. By 2020, if we take this picture again, it's going to look very different. There'll be more light. These dark areas are going to start becoming a lot brighter. And the thought I want to leave you with today is when these places come online, when the lights start switching on, how are you going to make beautiful music with the people turning them on? And with that, I leave you. Thank you. Let's go get a drink.